like that walk-on
I like
music,
the song.
Steve.
I like the song.
You chose
there
that?
There were more people here before. What happened, everybody?
Everyone's outside.
Open those doors. Get those people back in.
Yeah, exactly. So making cross-device reality. So let me just start with, LiveRail is now part of Facebook. What's the biggest difference from before Facebook to being part of Facebook? What's changed?
Sure. There's really three things that we've really been able to leverage now that we were acquired by Facebook. And obviously, some of this is anecdotal because I'm a post-acquisition employee, so I can't speak to everything that happened before I arrived or before Facebook acquired LiveRail. But obviously, first and foremost is resources. So when you need to build something, you've got some of the best engineers in the marketplace to help you build it. Second is just Facebook's mobile-first mentality. Everything that they do is mobile-first, and as I think I've heard from probably every speaker here, mobile has historically been a challenge or is a huge part from an impression standpoint, not so much from a revenue standpoint. So, Facebook in second quarter of last year, or second quarter of this year, generated 76% of all their revenue from mobile. So we think we're in a good position to help publishers take advantage of mobile. And third is really on the video side, some of the things that we've been able to do to help our publishers that are LiveRail publishers really leverage some of the audience data that is being asked of from their advertisers on the publisher side to make their inventory more efficient and more accurate.
So let's talk about the data side. I mean, because I know when Facebook did acquire LiveRail, a lot of people went immediately to the data because obviously Facebook has a huge trove of data that's very valuable. So how is LiveRail utilizing Facebook data?
Sure. So first and foremost, the biggest thing that we're doing now is around age and gender. So when it comes to video in the marketplace, it's obviously most publishers' most valued inventory. They get the highest CPMs, but unfortunately they're held accountable by the people who are buying that inventory to age and gender guarantees in a lot of instances, especially the broadcasters. So what we find is that a lot of that inventory goes to waste because they don't know as much about those users as Facebook might know about those users. So what we're enabling publishers to do on the video side is to decision based off of Facebook age and gender to help more accurately reach the target that agencies and advertisers are looking to find, reducing the amount of waste that those publishers have to use to deliver those campaigns, thus leaving a lot more inventory for them to sell to other people, is probably the biggest example. And then secondly, one of the other things that I didn't mention in terms of one of the benefits of being acquired by Facebook, one of the other things that we do at LiveRail is we own and operate Facebook's audience network. And for those people who aren't familiar with Facebook's audience network, it's an app monetization engine for mobile applications in the marketplace. And it leverages the 2 million plus advertisers that Facebook has on their site and extends that reach across to other apps. So from that perspective, that's also leveraging and helping our publishers make money from Facebook's audience.
Yeah. So when I was checking out the challenge board, on the tech provider side, there was one challenge that just said Facebook LiveRail integration. What do you think that's about?
I thought it was a concern, not a challenge.
Well, a challenge, I don't know. Some people treat challenges as concerns.
Yes. Well, hopefully it's not.
You didn't write it, right?
I didn't write it. So
okay,
hopefully,
that's good. That's
hopefully it wasn't a publisher that was writing it as a result.
No. It was on the tech provider. It was on the tech provider.
Gotcha.
So there's another tech provider here who is concerned about it.
And I would say,
or thinks it's a challenge.
Sure. And I would say that a challenge or a concern, depending on how you want to look at it, obviously when you've got 1.4 billion users on Facebook and 2 million plus advertisers, and Facebook, through the acquisition of LiveRail, wants to extend the ability and targeting that Facebook has leveraged over the last years in being very successful from an advertising perspective and arming publishers with that, I would hope the publishers in the room would consider that a good value proposition.
So on the publisher side, when I was going through it, there's just an enormous amount, outside of the ad fraud thing, there's an enormous amount around mobile monetization. Why do you think publishers struggle so much with mobile monetization?
The main thing is lack of cookies, obviously, in mobile. So it's not that there aren't buyers for mobile. It's just that the targeting that people have the ability to provide an advertiser in mobile is usually far less than what they've been able to do, on other platforms. And like I said, once again, that's why, Facebook, through its 1.4 billion users, the more we can inform our publisher partners about those users, then the easier it is to target them, the better CPMs they'll get for those impressions, thus monetizing what will be, and probably is in a lot of instances here, a much greater percentage of your overall inventory than desktop is today.
Yeah, it's interesting, in the town hall, there was talk about putting programmatic at the top of the stack and then guaranteed after that, which I thought was interesting but it was mostly because of direct response. So you get your most likely to respond, users, you sell them through programmatic, and then, you fill in the rest with guaranteed.
Yeah, so, interesting. We look at it slightly different, as we guide and consult with our publishing customers. If in fact somebody is using us as a holistic ad management platform and they're using us as a full stack ad server as well as an SSP, it's very easy for them to allow those programmatic buys to compete with the direct buys. Mm-hmm. And that's more, I think, I wasn't there, but I would say that that's probably more what they were referring to. Because at the end of the day, if I'm a publisher and I have a user that somebody's willing to spend $20 or $30 CPMs for because it's a direct marketing advertiser that is being reached via retargeting, but that user only consumes one impression, and I missed that impression because I sold it against a direct contextually based campaign, potentially at a lower CPM, potentially at par CPM, you may never see that user again, so you missed out on that impression. If you take that in the tens of thousands of advertisers that are using programmatic to do retargeting and reach extension and everything else, you miss out on a lot of opportunities. Mm-hmm. So the theme, or what we try to consult a lot of our publishers on, like I said, that use us holistically, is really to allow those to compete. Now, certainly, we don't want that to prevent a guaranteed buy from delivering, but I'm sure we can all agree that, let's just call it 5 to 10% that might be consumed based off of those high CPMs from retargeting, just as an example, probably would not affect your direct sold campaigns.
Right. How about on the video side? We heard a little bit during the town hall some frustrations that, from a user experience, monetizing in video sometimes wasn't the best. Too many 30-second spots being delivered, whether it was through direct or through programmatic channels. A lot of times the frequency is the same advertiser again and again. A lot of clicking out, like when they're trying to when they're showing the same ad repeatedly. What are you seeing like on the video side? Because publishers love video, high monetization, it's great. But what are mistakes or problems that you see on that side?
Well, that's obviously one of the biggest mistakes. You don't really see it, on the premium side, right? So I don't think when you hear that type of experience, it's usually not found on the top tier publishers that have quality video, that are click to play, in view type opportunities. What you find in a lot of instances, and probably a lot of what's on that board, is the stuff that gives everybody in the marketplace, not just video, a bad name when it comes to autoplay, below the fold, not in view, continuous ads and not so much content. So that's more been the problem. So to answer your question, I think what we're seeing a lot of is the flight to quality. Right? So when you look at the 200 plus demand sources that come and buy from LiveRail against the publishers that we help monetize their inventory, more and more they want the transparency, they want the viewability, they want the ability to know that it's quality inventory, and they're willing to connect directly to those people, which is why as well we're seeing a lot more private exchange type deals. I know it's been a word that's been thrown around over the last bunch of years, but there is now scale and reach across private exchanges, and that's mainly because they want to know what they're buying and they want to be buying quality.
Okay, we have time for one question. Anyone has a question? Tyler has a microphone. So does Paul. Wait, no, but we're recording it, so then you're not that loud. I don't know if you can reach
Now, I
around
was
the
just
world.
curious if you have any insight on how you measure how much is too much. Like in this world, do you want to give people more advertising? You want to make more money? Where do you test the limits, and how do you know that you've hit them?
I think we're not the publisher, or meaning LiveRail's not the publisher. Facebook obviously has a lot of thought on that, which I can't speak to specifically because I don't know the answer. But what I would say in terms of if I was consulting you from a publisher perspective, you have a lot of levers to figure out from an optimization standpoint what is too much, right? So you can do a lot of testing, and that's always been the beauty of the internet, in that you could do something today and change it tomorrow and change it again the next day. And we haven't heard that a lot in the conversation yet so far, but it's always been a constant theme, which is test, retest, test again, and that would probably be the only advice, without knowing much about the property, what I would say.
Okay, cool. Stephen, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. We'll go this way.